China announces jobless rate at only 5%, many raise question. Chessmaster accuses Chinese official of manipulating results and prizes. Employees at China's major AI companies queue up for free meals. Running from a life of fear with no dignity, U.S. business is leaving China. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China announces jobless rate at only 5%, many raise question. China reports a jobless rate of only 5%, but people claim that most graduates cannot find jobs. China's National Bureau of Statistics released the latest data on national urban unemployment on October 18, stating that the jobless rate was only 5% on average in September. Meanwhile, the urban surveyed unemployment rate averaging 5.3% in the first 9 months of this year. The statistics agency also said that, by the end of September, the number of rural migrant workers totaled 187.74 million, up by 2.8% year-on-year. However, the Bureau continued to hide the youth jobless figure after it hit a record 21.3% in June this year. However, many Chinese people commented that the figure is inconsistent with the reality around them and raised questions about the government's data. Some netizens left messages, saying, "Where are you surveying? Many factories around me have collapsed. What I know is that many people can't find good jobs. It feels like only 3 out of 10 people around me have jobs. Most of the college students graduating this year cannot find jobs. The friends next to me are all unemployed. I have been unemployed for 3 months, and I am still sending out resumes. The company I have worked for is laying off employees this year. Many companies here have closed down, and some wages have been delayed." In the past, mainland public opinion paid close attention to the unemployment situation of China's urban youth. However, the Chinese authorities officially announced in August that the release of the urban surveyed unemployment rate of young people across the country would be suspended. Chessmaster accuses Chinese official of manipulating results and prizes. Chinese chess master Liu Dehua has denounced an official at the General Administration of Sports for manipulating the chess competitions in China. On the evening of October 17, Liu Dehua posted a video on social media. In the video, he held up his identity card, using his real name, to report Guo Lieping, Deputy Director of the Chess and Card Sports Management Center, China Chess Academy, of the General Administration of Sports, accusing the official of manipulating the contestants, the results and prizes in the competitions. Liu Dehua said that, for a long time, Guo Lieping has shielded the evil forces in the Chinese chess world, openly using computer software and modern technological means to manipulate the outcome and prize distribution of various large-scale domestic competitions. The 73-year-old chess master added that the official has helped a small group of scum in the Chinese chess world buy and sell the win and loss of competitions to make profit. Liu Dehua said that Guo Lieping ignored the scandal in the Chinese chess world and instead retaliated against the athletes and coaches who exposed the scandal. Liu said that, as a person in the chess world, he couldn't bear it anymore, and he reported Guo Lieping in person, hoping the relevant government agencies would thoroughly investigate and deal with the corruption case. Liu Dehua is a Grand International Master of Chinese chess, a senior chess coach, and a Chinese chess player. He was once known as the Oriental Computer and the Chess King. On October 18, the staff of the Chess and Card Sports Management Center told Chinese media that they were not aware of the situation. Guo Lieping, 49, is a Chinese chess master and grandmaster. She has won the women's championship in the World Chess Championship. She has once served as Deputy Director and Director of the Chess Department of the Chess and Card Center of the General Administration of Sport. The denouncement from Liu Dehua has aroused discussions among netizens. Mainland netizens left messages on local social media. It shows that the General Administration of Sport sucks. The games are manipulated behind the scenes, and the competitive events have changed. Liu Dehua probably can't stand it any longer. He really can't bear the decline of this competitive sport. It's not just corruption. There are also problems with the reporting channels. We can only rely on real-name reporting online, and there is no news at all by handing in materials. It seems that the chess community is also in trouble. The Chinese Chess Academy is the next target of anti-corruption in sports. On October 18, Liu Dahua's apprentice Deng Fei demanded a thorough investigation into the scandal of chess players buying and selling game results, but did not point to specific people. Employees at China's major AI companies queue up for free meals. More than 100 employees of Chinese artificial intelligence firm iFlytek stood in line to wait for free meals an hour and a half before their lunch break. The superior announced the employee would be punished, but some netizens complained about the injustice. Chinese media Zhupai Finance reported on October 17 that the well-known fast food chain Laoxiang Chicken launched a free lunch event on October 8 at the food street in the campus of iFlytek, a Chinese voice recognition technology developer. Some iFlytek employees felt crazy for the free meals. They decided to leave the office before the daily lunchtime break and started to queue up in front of the food restaurant at around 10:30 a.m. By about 11 a.m., the number of iFlytek employees in the queue reached 100, and the queue continued to increase. After the information came out, their superiors were furious. iFlytek issued a statement, stating that the company's lunch and break times are from 12 to 1300 hours noon. Those employees who left their workplace more than an hour before the lunchtime break on that day violated relevant regulations. Their behavior was passive sabotage. The company announced relevant penalties, in which regular employees were given written warnings. Their performance appraisal results in the current quarter would not be higher than subjective C. The outsourced employees were given warnings or replaced by the corresponding outsourcing company, depending on the severity. Those who queued up after 11:30 a.m. on that day would not be processed for the time being. On Weibo, some Chinese netizens complained about the injustice. One commented that the company kept silent about the workers' free overtime, but it hit hard when the employees eat early. Another focuses on the food, questioning, "Is the fella's chicken delicious?" Running from a life of fear with no dignity, U.S. business is leaving China. According to a J.P. Morgan report last month, half of the $250 billion to $300 billion foreign bond investments since 2019 have exited, and U.S. private equity and venture capital investments in China have fallen by more than 50%. Foreign investments are leaving China. According to Chinese official data, foreign direct investment into China in the second quarter of this year reached a 25-year low at $4.9 billion, with a year-on-year decline of 87%. Bloomberg and FDI Markets data on new investment projects, a more telling indicator of whether foreign firms are still investing in the country, show a 40% drop to $74 billion in 2020 from $120 billion in 2019, and an additional 45% decline to $41 billion in 2022, the lowest since 2010. Although financial transactions are easy to track without much lag, it may take years for foreign direct investment data to reflect Western firms diversifying away from China. For this reason, Beijing might be unaware of how bad things really are as far as foreign direct investment. Analysts of the Rhodium Group, a leading research firm on the Chinese economy, warned in a recent report. The report stated, amidst a broader structural slowdown in China's economy, the delayed reactions could contribute to further losses in productivity and economic growth. The implied assumption here is that preventing economic losses is a priority for the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. However, some China experts challenge this. Derek Scissors is the chief economist of research firm China Beige Book and a senior fellow at the Washington-based think tank American Enterprise Institute. Mr. Scissors said, "It's not that Xi Jinping and the CCP leadership hate economic growth, it's just not a priority." He said, "The priority is control over the society, including the economy. So whenever there's a trade-off between economic control and growth, they choose control." And when we say, "Oh, you could be growing faster. Why are you doing these things?" The answer is obvious. It's because that's not their priority. Mr. Scissors and other experts said that overall economic growth isn't at the top of the agenda for Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. Instead, China is, by design, going through a paradigm shift in how it interacts with the global economy and is screening and filtering for foreign investors loyal to Mr. Xi. As a result, China's overall political and business landscape defies past experience, they said, and Western interpretations will make the wrong assumptions on China even more so than before. 3 phases of foreign direct investment in China. When U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo visited China in August, she warned that the country could become uninvestable if the unpredictable official behavior, such as raids on U.S. firms, don't cease. This year, Min's Group's Beijing office was raided in March, Bain & Company's Shanghai office in April, and Capvision Partners' offices in multiple cities in May. The Chinese business environment for U.S. companies wasn't always like this. Mike Sun, a U.S.-based businessman with decades of experience advising foreign investors and traders doing business in China, recalled that the first generation of U.S. investors visited mainland China with a pioneering spirit. He spoke using an alias to protect his business in China. In the early 1990s, he said a Jewish-American businessman told him, "I want to be America's Marco Polo," referring to the Italian explorer who introduced Europeans to China. The businessman spoke fluent Mandarin and was married to a Chinese woman. Back then, China was full of opportunities. If investing in China in those years felt like an adventure, it became a no-brainer the next decade, from 2000 to 2012. Mr. Sun recalled, "One would have been foolish not to invest in China." He said, "The crowning glory for the communist regime was the 2008 Beijing Olympics. When U.S. President George W. Bush and his family sat next to Chinese Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi at the China-United States basketball game, it became a symbol of the international community's acceptance of the CCP. China had become the world's factory after it joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. According to World Bank data, its share of global manufacturing value-add rose from 9% in 2004 to 22% in 2012 and 30% in 2022. But Mr. Xi's ascension in March 2013 heralded a different decade. In 2015, the leader started his Industrial Made in China 2025 plan, aiming for global dominance in advanced manufacturing sectors such as semiconductors and new energy. To achieve this goal, the regime encouraged large-scale technology theft from Western countries. In Mr. Sun's view, Mr. Xi has reversed China's integration into the rest of the world, a trend that had defined the previous 2 decades. Mr. Sun said, "Xi doesn't want China to be a second Russia." Between 2014 and 2016, Russia suffered a financial crisis because of the sharp price decline of crude oil, a major export, and international sanctions as a result of its annexation of Crimea. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, it was hit with more than 13,000 restrictions. Negative trend has become clear in COVID years. Mr. Sun said China's changes have become more apparent in the past 2 to 3 years, coinciding with the COVID-19 pandemic, during which Mr. Xi largely completed his consolidation of power. That's what Meng Jun, a Chinese entrepreneur, said he experienced. Mr. Meng had a rubber product business with an annual revenue of $15 million. In 2021, when the rest of the world reopened, his factory in Nanning, the capital of southern China's Guangxi province, began to receive orders again. However, he couldn't resume production because of the regime's COVID-19 lockdowns. Initially, he was able to bribe local officials so his factory could run at night while other factories had to remain shut. But later, no one would bend the rules because the officials didn't want to lose their jobs over the possibility that a COVID-19 case would be traced back to an unauthorized factory operating under China's zero-COVID policy. He lost millions. He closed the business last year and left for the United States. Mr. Meng said, Xi Jinping achieved total control of Chinese society, and he knew it. He had tested it in the 3 years of lockdown. Just with a few people in a neighborhood committee, the lowest CCP control unit in urban areas, wearing white coats, no one in the apartment complexes with a population ranging from a couple of thousand to tens of thousands dared to defy the rules and leave. According to Mr. Sun, no one should view China's economy through the lens of Western economics. Westerners think that China's economy is so bad with a high youth unemployment rate and an insolvent property sector, but she thinks it's fine. Mr. Scissors agreed, the goal for Xi and the party is to make sure they control the economy, and that's going fine. So they see no crisis here, and I think they're correct. A life with fear and no dignity. According to the 2023 survey of the U.S.-China Business Council, more than one-third of U.S. businesses have reduced or paused planned investment in China in the past year. Their top concerns are geopolitics and domestic policies. On October 3, Capvision Partners, one of the U.S. firms rated earlier this year, announced that it had completed a rectification approved by Chinese authorities. The company repeated the CCP's diktats and vowed to take the lead in safeguarding the security bottom line in the consulting industry and contribute a small share to the Chinese-style modernization. Shortly after the raid, Chinese propaganda claimed that Capvision's consultants engaged in international espionage. In addition to raids, Western executives have reportedly been barred from leaving China. According to Spain-based human rights group Safeguard Defenders, China now has 15 different exit ban laws that allow authorities to stop a person from leaving the country. Mr. Sun said he was subject to an exit ban after Mr. Xi took over the CCP. Based on his experience, he said police departments, including those at the township level, can place an exit ban on a person in the public security system. Border control officers who execute a ban don't provide a justification unless the banned person is also arrested. Exit bans can last from several months to years, and there's no formal notification of when it gets lifted. People under a ban have to use their personal networks to find out the real reason for it and try to leave the country to see whether it's still in effect. Mr. Sun doesn't know the exact duration of his exit ban. His lawyer guessed it was more than a year. Mr. Sun said, "It's like a person is virtually locked with reasons unknown to the individual, and the key is in someone else's hands. A person may be controlled remotely, that's the case in China." He said the increasing exit bans in China reminded him of the case of a former China chief of Australian mining giant Rio Tinto Group. Stern, who, a Chinese-Australian, was charged with leaking state secrets in July 2009 and sentenced to 10 years in prison in March 2010 for bribery and infringement of trade secrets. Mr. Sun said the real reason for Mr. Hu's fate was that Rio Tinto walked back from selling a stake in key assets to the state-owned Aluminum Corporation of China. Bloomberg reported that the company retained Henry Kissinger to resolve the arrest of Mr. Hu and 3 other employees, although the former U.S. Secretary of State said he couldn't do anything for them. Mr. Hu was released in 2018 after serving 8 years in a prison near Shanghai. According to China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, his term was reduced for obeying management and education. Fast forward to 2023, and the risk of compliance violation and cost of non-compliance is even higher. Mr. Sun said, the anti-espionage law contains vague terms up to the CCP's interpretations. The party intentionally creates this uncertainty so foreign investors don't know what to do and cannot avoid the risk except by obeying the CCP. Earlier this year, the regime drastically expanded its 2014 anti-espionage law, giving authorities sweeping powers to probe anything deemed by the party as affecting national security. He added, "It's for creating fear so people don't dare to touch anything that may have the slightest possibility of inviting trouble." The Foundation for Defense of Democracy's think tank observed a similar trend. The group stated in a report last month, Beijing is re-engineering conditions for foreign businesses with a raft of new laws and regulations that seek to bend investors to the ruling party's priorities and render overseas regulators irrelevant. Mr. Sun and Mr. Meng said the future chosen ones to make money in China would be those loyal to Mr. Xi and the CCP. Still, there's a price to be paid. Mr. Meng once was awoken by a call from a provincial-level CCP official at 2 a.m. and ordered to immediately deliver hundreds of thousands of yuan because the official needed cash for gambling. Another time, he had to run a high-end hotel in Guangxi province to entertain party officials free of charge. His partners took over the hotel in 2005 after he began to travel between Guangxi and Beijing frequently. Mr. Meng said, while foreign businessmen may not have to go to such extreme lengths to curry favor with officials, the humiliation might be similar, adding that the Chinese business environment was getting ridiculous with official propaganda calling on people to engrave Xi Jinping thought in their brains, hearts, and souls. For Mr. Meng, it would have meant living a life with no dignity. So he left China in April 2022. What to expected? Mr. Sun said, despite the risks, plenty of businessmen are still willing to make sense of the new rules around investing in China, because the country's massive market is, after all, so enticing. In the absence of sweeping sanctions on China, American capitalists won't give up on the market. Mr. Sun said he can think of two scenarios that would trigger an exodus: a Chinese invasion of Taiwan or the regime's violent suppression of an internal protest on a similar scale to that of the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. Mr. Meng said he doesn't think economic issues will bring Mr. Xi down. But if anti-Xi leaders could label the leader as having made a grave political mistake, example, having supported Russia in its war in Ukraine, if Russia is defeated, they might be able to force him to step down. Regardless of how the future unfolds, China's business landscape is going through a structural shift. Mr. Scissors said, I think Xi Jinping would prefer less foreign participation in the Chinese economy. So if he can keep foreign participation in areas where he wants it, and other foreign participation declines, he's totally fine with that. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.